Using a 13mm socket, go ahead and remove our ground terminal nut here. I'll go ahead and spin the terminal loose, work that off and set it aside. Underneath the hood, we're going to go ahead and disconnect our air intake tube and use our flathead screwdriver and loosen up our hose clamps. Once we have those loose, I'm going to come on over here. Let's go ahead and remove our vacuum tube and grab our electrical connector here. Now ours is broken here, so there is some tape on here. There's a little tab that's supposed to be here where you could push down and pop that off. With those two disconnected, we'll go ahead and remove our intake tube, set that aside. I'm going to go ahead and unbolt our radiator fan shroud. There's a 10mm bolt here and one on the passenger side. We want to loosen and remove both of these bolts. And do the same for the other side. We're going to grab our fan shroud, pull it straight up, pull it out of the locking tabs, and we're just going to set it over our fan. There are two 10mm bolts holding the top portion of our radiator in place. I'm going to go ahead, loosen, and remove these using our 10mm socket. And at this point here, our radiator should be loose. You should be able to lift that up. So we're good there. Using an 18mm swivel socket, we're going to go ahead and get to our passenger side engine mount stud here. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this nut. I'm going to go ahead and remove the nut on the driver's side. Using a 13mm socket, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect our ground cable from the bottom side of the engine block. Pull that off, set that aside. I'm going to thread the nut right back onto the stud here. Makes it easier to find it later. Remove the starter by locating the driver's side of your transmission bell housing. There's a bolt here, here, and here. These are 13mm. Let's go ahead and remove those. I'm going to start by breaking these free. Once we have them free, we'll go ahead and use some power and speed those bolts out. Remove the bottom two first. Now, when you're removing the last bolt here, you want to be prepared to reach around the other side, support that starter, because once you remove this here, the starter is going to want to drop out. Pull the bolt out, bring the starter down. What we're going to do is use a strap to go ahead and secure this starter. We don't want to let the starter just dangle by its own weight. So I'm going to go ahead and support that. I'm going to use a 13mm socket with our ratchet. Go ahead and loosen and remove our drain plug for our oil pan. Make sure you have your drain bucket underneath, ready to go. Shop gloves is nice and handy when you're doing something like this here. That way there, if the oil does spit out at you, Your hands are protected here. With the oil pretty much drained out, go ahead and put your drain plug in. Just gonna go ahead and snug that down. Once you feel that bolt bottom out, you want to go just a little bit more. You want to make that snug. Once that's in there snug, go ahead and clean up your pan. At this point here, we have our screw jack located on the front side of the engine. We have a block of wood between the jack and our harmonic balancer. We're going to go ahead and raise up the screw jack. Let's go ahead and lift up that motor. As we raise up the front of the motor, we can see the motor mount studs pulling out of the cradle. And our radiator is nice and loose, so the radiator can shift around as needed. With the motor lifted, we're going to go ahead, loosen and remove our oil pan bolts. We're going to use a 5/16 socket with some extensions and start removing the bolts. I'm just going to switch over and start removing the bolts on the driver's side, working our way towards the front. I'm going to use our 1/4 inch ratchet to go ahead and get this bolt here. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same on the other side of the pan. Same corresponding bolt directly on the other side. We have one last bolt here. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this. The pin will slowly start to lower. Go ahead and grab that bolt and set that aside. Let's go ahead and grab our pan, slightly move it forward. Go ahead and raise up our engine a little bit more, see if we can get this pan out. Now with the pan out, we go ahead and grab our oil pan gasket. I'm gonna pull this out, working our way all the way around the perimeter. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when doing something like this here. Now what we want to do is clean around the perimeter of the lower portion of the block where the gasket was. We're going to use some rags or some towels with some solvent. You want to go around the perimeter here. You want to make sure that this is clean and free of any contaminants, any leftover gasket material. You want to clean that, remove that. And we're going to do this all the way around the bottom of the engine. We're going to use a little bit of solvent. I'm going to go around the perimeter of our oil pan. We want to make sure that our oil pan surface is completely clean and free of any oil or debris. So what we're going to do is make sure we can confirm what side of the gasket goes where. We can identify the rear by the hole placement here as we work our way down to the front, wherever hole's matching up here. Let's go ahead and raise up the gasket and get the gasket onto the engine. I'm going to put some RTV right in this little crook right here, right where the gasket is going to mate up. We'll put some on the opposite side. And then we're going to come around to the front and we're going to put some right where the timing cover meets up with the block. Do this on both sides. And we're going to install the back half of our gasket. And there is a plastic threaded stud that comes with this. Now these plastic studs help you align the gasket and they'll hold it in place while you get the oil pan installed. Let's go ahead and work our pan up and in. What we want to do is work the oil pan over those plastic studs that are holding our oil pan gasket. These studs will help us line up the pan. Once you have the pan and the gasket all lined up and into place, go ahead and start putting your oil pan bolts in, getting them just caught a few threads by hand, working your way all the way around the perimeter. Now our plastic studs here, I'm gonna go ahead and just unscrew those there. Go ahead and install your oil pan bolt in the back. Let's go ahead and do that for all four corners now. I'm going to go ahead and just snug down our oil pan gaskets. We're going to go all the way around the perimeter and then we'll come back and torque them. And we don't want to make these super tight. We just want to snug them so that the oil pan is seated. And then we'll come back. Let's go ahead and torque down our oil pan bolts to 9 foot-pounds. And just continue this process all the way around the pan. with the oil pan on, let's go ahead and start lowering our motor down. Now we have our motor mount studs. We have our passenger side here, driver's side on the other side. We're going to try and get one of these studs to lower down into the chassis first. And get that stud to come through. Now we're going to go ahead and use a pry bar to go ahead and rock this bushing, bring that stud down into place. We want to repeat this process for both engine mounts. Let's go ahead and remove our securing strap here. Set that aside. Let's go ahead and swing our starter up. Feed that into the bell housing. Get our bolts started in. Once we have these bolts started in a few threads, we'll go ahead and snug them down. Let's get and torque down our starter bolts to 19 foot-pounds. Let's remove our nut and we'll install our ground wire here. Pop that up into place. Once that wire is in place, we'll install our nut. Let's go ahead and snug that down. Let's go ahead and install the nut for the driver's side motor mount. I'm going to get that started a few threads. We'll do the same for the passenger side. Let's go ahead and snug this down. Go ahead and repeat for the other side. Go ahead and torque down the engine motor mount nuts to 85 foot-pounds. And repeat for the other side. Now that we have the new oil pan up in here, we want to go ahead and make sure that the pan bolt is snug before we go ahead and add oil to it. I'm going to go ahead and raise our radiator back up and get that back in a position. The radiator itself has arms on each side, about midway down, to actually sit down. I'm going to get our radiator set up and get our bolt started. We're just going to get this bolt started a few threads, and we're going to go ahead and install the bolt on the passenger side, and then we'll snug those down. We want to get our fan shroud lined up. There are tabs down on both lower portions that actually fit into locking tabs on the radiator. Once those are lined up, you can push that down into place, pull our shroud back, and install the bolts on the front here. Get that bolt started a few threads, repeat for the passenger side. And just want to lightly snug those down. Repeat on the other side. Let's install our air intake tube. Pop that onto our throttle body. Get the other side put onto our air box here. And we'll tighten down our clamps. Once these clamps are snug, let's go ahead and install our temp intake sensor here. And we'll install our vacuum tube. Locate your oil fill cap, spin that off, and set that aside. Get your funnel ready. I'm going to go ahead and add oil accordingly. This 3-liter engine takes about 4.5 quarts of oil. Let's go ahead and add our 1/2 quart here. Let's go ahead and remove our funnel. Install our cap. Now what you want to do is go ahead and start up the vehicle, let it run for about 30 seconds, shut it down, and we're going to check our engine oil level. Now on the driver's side of the engine, you're going to locate your oil dipstick here. You're going to pull this out. You can normally go ahead and just give this a quick wipe down with a clean towel. I'm going to go ahead and put it back in, bottom that out, and we're going to pull it out and check. Want to make sure that your engine oil is within that crosshatch area. It is full, so we have the perfect level. Go ahead and reinstall your dipstick. You're all set. Let's go ahead and grab our negative terminal, pop that on. Let's go ahead and tighten down this side. Once it snugs down, you're all set.